So in the last video, I showed you how to do the welcome view. Now in this video, we're going to talk about the main menu view and how that's going to work. So in our view package, let's create a new class, and we'll call it main menu view. Pretty self-explanatory for the name. Let's create another empty constructor. So that we can create one of these. And then we'll need a couple methods that will be helping us display the view and then capture the player's input. So what we're going to do is the assignment calls for 3 methods, and I agree with this. There'll be the display menu method, which will just display the menu. There'll be the get input method, which will capture the player's input and make sure it's valid. And then there'll be the do action method that'll take that input and then perform a specific action based on that. So let's stub those methods out really quickly. The display menu method doesn't really need to return anything. The get input method should probably return the input that the player input. In my case, it's going to be a single character. I'm going to at least reduce it to a single character. That way I can show you at least how switch statements work. Switch case statements do not work on strings in Java. So if you want to use switch case statements, you should have single character input from your users. That'll also help the users have a better experience, I think, as well. So we'll call this the get input. And for now I'll return null, just so it doesn't my compiler doesn't complain at me. Or hey, how about that? And then we'll have the do action method, which is actually going to perform the action. And this do action method probably needs the input that was entered from the get input method. So it needs to be void too. That doesn't really need to do anything. So I'll quickly write out the display menu function because you don't need to listen to me type. So you can see I've written out the display menu function. All it's going to do is prompt the user to select an option. The only options I have are begin new game, load a saved game, view the help menu, and exit the game. And the only thing that we'll have to implement for this week again is the help menu. And that's going to be very similar to the display menu, where they'll select an option and it'll just be text that they view. So let's talk about how to get to retrieve the correct input. It's going to be almost exactly like our player prompt method. So let's create a character. I'll call this input, and it's going to not be initialized. And let's actually create a string as well. That'll be the input, and then I'm actually going to initialize that as an empty string, and I'm going to have this as the return value that I'm going to be returning, and I'm going to always return the return value. And then I can say while the input length is less than 0 or less than 1, so if they didn't hit enter anything, then I can display the menu, and then we need a scanner again as well. And then I can say input get scanner, not scanner, sorry. It's my in, which is a scanner, next line. And then I can validate that input, so I can say if that input is less than 1, then I can prompt them again. And then I could even re-output the entire menu if I wanted to. The same thing goes if the input isn't a valid character based on my menu options. So let's take the first character off of their input, and maybe we don't care if they enter, NEW, right? We only care about the N from their input. So let's do it that way. So we can use some string methods that we have. So on their input, we can get the character at, which is going to return a char type, and it's going to return the char value at the specified index. In Java and every programming language, things are indexed starting at 0. So let's get the character at the 0 location in my string. So if they enter NEW, then that will be the N character. Let's also make sure it's in uppercase, because I care about that. So I can make this string to uppercase before I get that character at 0. And what I'm doing here is I'm stringing together methods. I know this to uppercase returns a string, and so on that new string, that's the result of these calls, I'm going to call this method. And all of that, after I do that, I'm going to assign that to this RTN variable that I have. And then I can check if RTN does not equal N. I think it's going to be OR, but I can double check that. Or RTN does not equal L, or RTN does not equal H, or RTN does not equal E, then I can display a message that's going to tell the user, please select a valid input. And then I can maybe display, well, I won't display the entire menu again in this case. And then let's reset their input so that this method, or this while loop iterates again. So let's reset their input to become nothing. Otherwise, their input remains as ABC, and that will return the character A, and then our doAction method will have a problem with it. And let's initialize return to, let's make it just 0. Characters are special, and you don't need to worry about what I'm doing here. You can Google it if you'd like. But they're all ASCII characters, so the 0 ASCII character I think corresponds to null anyways, so that's what that will do. And then really quickly, so I can test these, let's just try this out. Going back to our zombie method, I really don't care about my welcome view right now, so I'm going to comment that out because I really just want to test the main menu view. So I'm going to create a main menu view. And then I'm going to just call getInput because my getInput method I know already is calling my display menu. So back over here, and then let's just output what they entered. And let's see if this worked. So my main menu looks correct. It's saying please select an option. If I type in the letter T, it's saying please select valid input. If I just hit enter, I actually get an exception. So my code is incorrect. Let's go check it out and see what the problem is. It's saying it's at this line in my code. This is Java code. I want to jump in there. I want to see the first code that's mine, and I want to see what method or what the problem is here. Oh, and it looks like if the input length is less than 1, I still try and get the character at 0, and I know that doesn't exist. So I probably need to put an else in here to make sure that this executes only if this did not. So if it fails, then enter this, otherwise do this. And without that else, this will always execute. So let's try it out now. If I just hit enter, it's going to just repeat, please select an option. So now let's try typing in 3 characters, all lowercase. And I'm going to type in new. And it looks like that still didn't come up as a valid input. So maybe my logic is incorrect. So I'm going to go ahead and put a breakpoint. Let's kill this process by stopping it. And let's go ahead and put a breakpoint right here to see if our logic is correct. And we'll go ahead and debug. And we will type in new. And we hit our breakpoint. Let's look at what the character RTN is. It's N, so that's so we know we got the correct character. It's capital N even. And so let's see if our logic is right. If the return does not equal N or L or H or E, then output this line. Well, we know it does equal N. So this should actually be false. Let me just step and see if that is what I would think it would be. And for some reason this is evaluating as true. So I need to look at this a little bit more. Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so like I said when I was doing this earlier, I wasn't quite sure if this was or ands. And it turns out they need to be ands, because or say if any one of these is true, then the whole thing is true. And I really don't want that. If this is if any one of these is true, I want sorry, if any one of these is false, I want to jump out because I have a valid input. And there's probably a better way I could have logically written this. In fact, there is. I'm sure of it. But this is the way my brain just jumped to it first, and so I'll probably go back and fix this. But let's go see if my my fixed the code. So let's kill this instance, and we'll run again. And let's type in NEW, and we can say, oh yeah, look, we entered N. And let's make sure I didn't break this in the other way. So if I type in ABC still, it's still going to ask for a valid input. So I can type in L, and it works. So I know my getInput method works. So now for my doAction method, I'm just going to stub out all the methods and actions, and that's what you're going to do except for the help menu. And then I will post another video about how, I guess, the game logically flows and how you're going to handle that. But really quickly, I'll show you a switch case statement. So based on the action that was input, I want the software to take an appropriate action. So based on the input, I'm going to have one of several different things happen. We're going to have case N for start a new game. And in every switch case statement, you need a break, otherwise it'll just continue on to the next case. And so I'm going to say start new game, because all these should be methods that will happen. And then for case, I think it was L was my next one. Yeah, LHEL. I'll call the load game method, and then break again to make sure I don't move on into the next case. H was load help menu, or maybe not load, but show help menu. break, and then my last case, case E, call exit game and break. And it's always good practice to have a default case that doesn't have a parameter, and then we can print something here. There we go. Let me say something like error on input. And you can see these methods don't exist yet, so let's fix them by stubbing out the methods. And not a breakpoint. And this way, and you don't want to throw exceptions. That'll probably confuse you. So when you stub out the methods, just do a sysout not implemented yet. And of course, the one that you are going to implement will be the show help menu. And that method, you'll probably just create a new help menu instance and then call the show help menu function. And so the help menu will do its thing, and then when they exit the help menu, it'll return to this method, which will return to this doAction call, which will break out of this function, and then the doAction method will finish. And that's all you should need to be. That's all you should need to do for this class or for this assignment as a team. It doesn't matter how many times your main menu loops or anything. If they enter L, it should just let them know that they called the load game, and that's not implemented yet. If they call H, it should take them to the help menu. And then if they exit the help menu, it should just finish and be done. We'll hook all the other pieces together in another week in another assignment. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of an overview of what you should be doing and gets you started. If you need help, office hours are I'm always available, and I'm available if you need me most of the other time if you just set something up with me. Sorry these videos were long, but I hope it helps again. So good luck this week.